Okay, Smackdown. I'm not even going to take very long. I actually tried a couple of times to joke around in the video, but I'm going like, dude, you joking around so much, trying to make the video more interesting than what we got in Smackdown. It just made the video look dumb. So I'm just going to do this straight. Guys, we got 3 matches on Smackdown and a heavy emphasis on storytelling. But is it good storytelling? No. And many people say, well, you crazy? Look, just Alex likes the storytelling. JD says it's great. They're making progression. There's a problem. If JD likes it, more power to him. If just Alex or Solomon's or Grimm or WrestlingInc.com or what's culture? I believe what's culture? Wrestle culture. If all of them like it, more power to them. But I'm still going by what we've been presented. And that all of this storytelling is hinging on no one even paying attention that we're supposed to have a draft. And all of this storytelling is based on that. And instead of them just saying openly to the WWE Universe, card out Triple H and say to the general public, we are dropping the draft. Nobody wants to do that. And because they're not doing it, all of this storytelling is basically hinging on you paying no attention to the draft ever existing at all, which I can't do that. The draft was rammed down our throat for months, and after it was done, it was trash. So when we get the storylines here, all of this, it makes it negated. Why are we doing something that's against the draft? I'm just saying. Okay, the 3 matches, I'm going to go through them quickly because they really are okay. But the storytelling of the entire show is what is the most important thing. Santos Escobar versus Montez Ford. Now, Montez needed a win. That's what they were trying to emphasize here. But here, this was not about Montez Ford. And the key for me is two. One, what are they going to call Bobby Lashley's faction? They need to call it something, not the Hurt Business. It's been used already. It can't be Hurt Business 2.0 because they already tried that already. They tried to bring back the Hurt Business. They're going to do 3.0 of the Hurt Business? No, call it something else, if they do. 2, this was not even about Montez winning. This was about what's going on with Santos Escobar and what's going on with Carlito. Because after Santos got his ass whooped, Carlito came to help him. And later we had the little talk before the Logan Paul segment, which I will get to right after this because I might as well. No, I'm sorry. I won't be. It'll be after the other 2 matches, which won't take me long. But simply, what are we getting? Are we getting a storyline where Santos Escobar was supposed to turn on Rey? No. So we're getting, it looks like, a storyline of Santos Escobar getting jealous because Rey is showing more feeling towards Carlito because he was hugging Carlito. And he just done a handshake with Santos and he looked upset because now he's not Rey's favorite anymore. That's the way it looks. Does it mean it's going to be done correctly? I don't know. But that's what it looks like. Next, Grayson Waller and Fury versus Grime, and now supposedly counting, if he's not going to do double work in NXT, as far as I can tell from what they said, he's now a SmackDown roster man now. He has now been moved from NXT to SmackDown. Does not mean they're not going to throw him back to NXT if they want extra star power. I'm guessing he will do double duty. And that is Dragon Lee. The match was not the key here. Grayson Waller and Austin needed a win. They already had a loss, which they shouldn't have been losing. But they now got a win. But I knew this pairing between him and Cameron Grimes was not going to really mean much. Doesn't mean they didn't have a good match. It just didn't mean much. Final match. Charlotte Flair versus Io Sky for the title of the Undisputed Women's WWE Championship. I'm going to tell you this. Io won. We know this. Io is going to win. Damage Control is by her side. And seeing that Dakota Kai is walking with a knee brace does not bode well for me. Well, bode well for her because she must not be fully recovered yet. She's still wearing a knee brace. But I'm going to tell you, this is the truth. Do I care about Io? I actually do. I think she's actually not a bad character. I think as a person who had to learn English, which she has a bit of English, she knows English, that's good. And she's got style in the ring. I actually don't mind. But here's the thing. I don't care about her at all because she can't win without damage control at all. She feels empty. And then you throw up against Charlotte Flair, who, and I'm saying this truthfully, whether Io won or not, didn't matter. Charlotte is always going to be where the main event is. And honestly, that is a huge problem. Because instead of focusing on the other women that's on the roster, you're still focusing on Charlotte. Charlotte should be low on the card, but she's not. They're always going to put Charlotte in the main event, which honestly negates everything they've been talking about. Like, I've heard that just Alex for Monday Night Raw, he said the women got treated great there. No, they didn't. Women didn't get treated great there. And I don't think the women got treated great here, particularly Io, who should have never had damage control by her side. That she shouldn't have actually needed them. She needed a real win against Charlotte. And she didn't get it. Now Bianca's back. Bianca basically nails Bayley, who still feels off. I don't know what it is about Bayley. Something's not right about her. I don't know what it is. It's either physically she's injured or mentally she's having a problem. She might be having depression or something. I just feel like there's something wrong with her. She looks off. If you guys didn't notice, she looks off. It almost looks like she's depressed. And this is just me. I don't believe she's pregnant. I just think she's gained weight. And it's weird the way I'm seeing it. Because there is something off with Bayley. There is no lying about it. She's just off. And now Bianca comes back and nails Bayley in the face. And now, what do we really get here? Do we actually get a put over Io Sky? No. Do we now get a title change for a Charlotte? No. Does this mean this is going to be about Bianca going up against Io and then she's getting her title back, being a face again when she's basically rammed it into the ground? Maybe. And I don't want to see it. I've seen Bianca as a face. It's time for her to work with a husband, work with Andrew Dawkins, and work with Bobby Lashley. That would have been better. But this is what we got. Now, let's go through the storylines, because that's what the bread and butter of this show was. I'm going to tell you this. Was all of these storylines alright? They were fine, but there's one problem. The draft. Everything there is negated. Everything there feels stupid because we have a fucking draft where no one should be showing up on any show. They're specifically from one show. Now, did they make sense of at least one segment out of there? Yes, they did. Let's do the John Cena segment first. Not the LA Knight one, but John Cena, which made no sense. For his segment, it made no damn sense. He's talking about retirement due to the fact after 2,002 days, he has not had a win. In the ring. Not talking about fighting. Remember, we're not talking about having a fight with someone. We're talking about an actual in-ring match where he's won one in singles. He talks about he hasn't won one since 2018. And literally, and he hasn't been here much. What? How many times has he been back since 2018? Maybe 6 or 7 times. Maybe. Since 2018. And pretty much, he's thinking about retirement until he tries to get the fans to convince him not to do it. And then he's hyped himself back up. And then Solo comes out, particularly once he says, you know what? No matter what goes on right now, whoever's in the back, you come out right now, you're going to get the smoke. And Solo comes out. Now, unfortunately, if you haven't seen on one of the news outlets, Solo got a new tribal tattoo in his right hand that's taped up right now. Actually looks no different than his body, but I got to give him credit. Anybody who wants to do a Samoan tribal tattoo or a Polynesian tattoo, They use a very sharp needle and it's incredibly painful. So if that's the type of one that he's doing, the traditional one, more power to him. But what did we really get here? We got a fight that should have been a match for John. Or at least set up for a match. Maybe it will. But this felt like anything. It didn't feel like anything. And then once he gets kicked in the face by Jimmy, it really didn't mean much. Until Jay shows up, pulls Jimmy out of the ring, whacks him in the face, pulls down the mask because he's wearing all black. Literally, what was the draft for? If Jay gets attacked by Jimmy and messes up his match on Raw, which should have never happened. They should have never lost the titles in the first place. Jay and Cody should have kept it because then it would have validated the draft that Jay can keep going back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. That's allowed because of the unified titles. But no, Jimmy shows up, basically ruins it. There you go. Now many people say, well, he's got to get back at him. Could get back at him in other ways. He didn't need to show up on the show. Neither one of them should have shown up on the show. But then, after it's over, which is the only thing that's correct, only thing that made sense to try and save this segment, was when Jay was taken in the back with Nick Aldis, the new GM, and was basically fined 10 grand for what he just did. But Adam Pearce is there. Why? Why is Adam Pearce on SmackDown? Isn't he a Raw GM? All of a sudden he said, oh, I knew something like this could happen. And basically, let's try and get something sorted out. And as I said, Nick fined Jay 10 grand. And it's Adam that says, why don't you fine Jimmy 10 grand as well? And he says, no, just, all right, forget this. Escort him out of the building. And he and Jay say, no, don't you dare touch me. That's security. He says, wait, let me take him. Let me escort him out. And Nick says, all right. Escort them both out. And that's security. And he looks at a Nick Aldis, takes off the glass and says, really? Really? He says, yeah. Okay. Well, tally ho. Friendly competition. I will at least say this, that even though the segment was stupid because it's invalidated because of the draft. Because of it. Because you got so many people going back and forth between NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. This one made the most sense, at least in this respect, at the end of the entire story of this show. Not the entire story, period. That due to the fact that Jay went to SmackDown to attack his brother, gets fined 10 grand, but was convinced, and this is Nick Aldis by Adam Pearce, don't do that. If you're going to charge him, do it to his brother. And he says, all right, forget it, I waive it. Just get his ass out of my building. And he says, please don't grab him. I'll escort him out. Okay, no problem. We'll escort both of you out. And now that's going to cause the animosity that could build into pretty much Survivor Series. Do I know what type of situation they're going to do at Survivor Series? They're going to be 10 on 10 like the traditional one? Or is it going to be War Games? I don't know. But this made the most sense. But I say it again. Due to the fact of the draft, the entire thing is invalid anyway. Next, we got Kevin Owens talking about what happened leaving Raw, going to SmackDown. It wasn't bad. There's no problem with it. As long as we don't see Sammy showing up on SmackDown, it's fine for Kevin to talk about it. He talked about the bloodline. He talked about all the people he's never wrestled. He's never wrestled Ray. He's never wrestled Drew. Fine. There's no problem with that. That's one of the few things I think they did well. Next. This was the best segment of the show. Was it perfect? No. But it was the best segment. We got Logan Paul, the Maverick, coming out, making it clear that the guy that he went in the ring with, he whooped that ass. He was a deadbeat dad, and now he's dealing with another deadbeat dad. But next to that, I want that damn title because I need to be validated. But the validation isn't about me existing. The validation is about I'm one of the best, and I just want a title on my shoulder because I am the best. Ray comes out. As he was talking with NWO, he was going to deal with his business with Logan. That's what he did. And he put over Logan. He made it very clear. You are a lot like my son. You're outrageously talented. You got charisma for days. Actually, he's got more charisma than his son did in the beginning. But he pretty much said, you run your mouth too much. And you want a match against me? Fine. Throws the title under the ground and says, me and you at Crown Jewel. Fine. And I'm going to whip that ass. But the thing that I felt was the most interesting was when he tried to shake the hand of Ray, because Logan was trying to shake his hand and Ray was reluctant. He didn't do anything, which was fine. And I felt like that was the wisest thing to do. Logan didn't need to try and whoop that ass because he's got what he wanted. He didn't have to struggle with it. Yeah, he did go like this at him, but it made sense that he did that. That was the best segment, and I'm sure it's going to be the most highly rated segment of SmackDown because Logan Paul was there and he did win his match. And I'm glad they did show parts of the actual match he had with that guy. I don't remember the guy's name, but he beat him. He won his match. That's when he said he wanted to go up against Ray. So that was fine. Let's see. I'm not going to cover Pretty Deadly much, but they are pushing Pretty Deadly. I'm not going to tell you that's good and it's bad. They are pushing Pretty Deadly, but I'm going to say this for me personally. Seeing the characters of Pretty Deadly here compared to the Pretty Deadly on NXT is not the same. This one is more emphasized on being more posh compared to the Pretty Deadly that was posh, but they made sure they would deal with their business, at least before they really left. Now, of course, they went to the spa and they basically got their faces dunked into where their feet was laying. So that means they will be dealing with Brawling Brutes some more, but honestly, I'm not surprised. Final thing I'm going to talk about, if I'm going to talk about anything else, is that we got Paulie coming out talking about what happened with Jimmy, what's going to happen with Roman Reigns dealing with an LA Knight, and now LA Knight is going to be in a match on Crown Jewel with a Roman Reigns. Fine. Then we get the best segment of the entire show. Now, mind you, the best segment that had two people in it was Logan and Ray. Logan talked more than Ray, and that's why it was better. But the greatest segment of the entire show, period, was LA coming out, grabbing that damn mic out of his hand, and he, for Paulie's part, played his part to act scared out of his damn wits. And let's make this clear. He had to talk to Paulie before they did this segment. He had to say, Paulie, I want to do this. And he had to run it across him how rude he was going to be to him. Because I'm sure Paulie wouldn't care, but knowing how LA Knight is, the actual guy, he would probably talk with Paulie for, well, how can I say this? You would talk to him first, but then he would not only get his input about it, but also he would at least tell him what he wanted to say generally. And he would get something there because LA is not a stupid man. He will take every bit of resource and he will squeeze that bitch until he gets exactly what he needs. Does he botch? Yeah. But he always is so over. Look what happened during that segment. He got everyone to say not only his name, to say it when he didn't even need to express it, other than you know what you're going to be dealing with. You're going to be dealing with what? And they just do it for him. The psychology that he has been refined enough that he can manipulate the crowd to do what he wants. To do the yeah part, yeah. 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 Yes. But also to say his name, not even giving a full hint. They're already ready for it. He is that freaking over. And I'm so happy. It makes me so happy. But here's the thing. After that segment was done, after he said, you're going to tell Roman Reigns to get ready because you know who you're going to be dealing with. When it comes down to it, I'm going to be taking that damn title. I will be the rising star of WWE that has now the Universal Championship. Yeah. All of that. But I know many people are going to say, well, he's going to lose. Yeah, he will. In 2 weeks' time, he will lose. I do not believe they're going to let him drop that title to an LA Knight, even though he's over like stink. If the plan is still for The Rock to deal with Roman Reigns, it's going to stick that way. But like I said before, and this is still a big question, it's not about him having that moment with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. It's about what they do with him afterward, because he's going to be like this. Once that happens, what happens? Does he go to a new level and then keeps going up by having more feuds, having more conversations, having more segments? He just keeps going like that? Or pretty much they do nothing with him and he stays like this where he's at until they're ready to do something with him, which will not be immediately. It will be whenever they choose it. Instead of just going like this and then making sure he has something to do next, going up against someone next. Because if he doesn't, he will go like this. And if they're not careful, they will miss the boat when it comes to LA being so over, because it's happened so many times. And I don't care, and I say it again, I don't care if it's Triple H, Ari Emanuel, who is the current CEO of Endeavor and TKO Group Holdings and WWE and UFC. He owns it all. I don't care. I don't care if it's Bruce. I don't care if it's Vince himself. I don't care who it is. If they don't catch what's in the bottle right now, once they got electrified, that's lightning in the bottle, it will go away. That's what happens. And no matter what any one of my fellow podcasters or wrestling reviewers say, if they're not careful, they can mess it up. And right now, I'm not feeling confident because of how much... Let's make this clear. WWE is in turmoil right now. They just lost a huge amount of the stock from their parent company, TKO Group Holdings, went from 105 to 85 or 86. And there's a possibility the reason that Vince is no longer doing the day-to-day operations of not only being an executive chairman and creative, they took that bitch away from him. Ari took it from him. There's got to be a reason why. There's a possibility that the subpoena from the grand jury, the inquiry, because what that means, a subpoena has been issued to Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He will go in front of a judge that will look over all evidence from both sides to see if this inquiry deserves a grand jury indictment. Once that happens, the indictment goes through, Vince will be going in front of not just a judge, but also a jury. And then we're going to know how bad things are really going for WWE. Because even though Triple H may be running creative now, what's going to happen with the company itself and who is going to be in the executive chairman position? No matter what anybody says, unless Ari Emanuel makes it very clear that whoever takes that position will never run creative, I don't buy anything. But it's just me. Peace.